Really unfortunate. Hello, welcome to the limits of your attention span. I'm a strategist at Elite SEM. I've done, I think this is about 2009. Who I am, really, is my dog. Mostly my dog. That's Waylon. He's 7 this month. I got him at a shelter when he was 2, and they brought him from West Virginia. They smuggled him up. Apparently he was in a kill shelter, and he's my 90-pound 6-year-old. That's kind of the most exciting slide you're going to see. So can I just do the talk from that? What I do. So SEO is, for those who may not know, I'm sure you already know, we're a bit website mechanic to start. I speak web developer. I am not one. I can generally talk to them, and they generally think I know what I'm talking about. I call myself a search engine optimist. I try to think of Google as that relative you have that sometimes shows up to Thanksgiving dinner, like you invite them, but maybe they're not going to show up, that type of person. I want humans to succeed online. I don't really care if Google wins or not. I want your humans to win because Google doesn't buy any of your stuff. So if you're worried about succeeding on Google, you will not get any bags of money. Like, I constantly tell clients all the time, like, it doesn't matter if you rank number 1 or not, there's no reward for it. Google is not going to show up with a truck full of money like, congratulations! You don't win. You win when people win. So that's why I kind of focus on this slide. At Elite, about 40% of our clients are e-commerce on the SEO side only. I personally have experience with all of these e-commerce platforms, particularly in the Demandware and the Salesforce area. Do a ton of migrations. If you're an enterprise level brand that is looking to go to one of these and you do not have a plan for organic search, or the web developer has already told you that it's fine, it won't be. So call someone who has this type of experience to come help you. And this is why I think I'm particularly versed to speak to the e-commerce side, because this is really most of what I do in a day. Fun fact, this is a survey done by Clutch, published by Search Engine Land. 44% of businesses said SEO was not part of their digital strategy. We're super boring. We're not fast, we're not cool, we're not terribly sexy, aside from me. What we have here is like sort of the brand awareness was number 1, and increasing revenue and sales, or sorry, brand awareness number 2, sales revenue number 1. And only 44% are focused in SEO. So like a good slice of you are in the wrong room, maybe, or thought you were coming to something else. What's interesting to me about what they are focused on from the survey is that SEO is all part of all of those channels. If you have a website, you're engaged in SEO, but you don't know you are. So if you're online, you've given a search engine permission to crawl your web pages, you're in the organic index. If you're not optimizing, you're just allowing the competition to beat you. You're throwing money basically out, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater basically. Mobile apps, content marketing, your website, your social media also, these all have SEO implications. And you should be kind of framing that strategy with those in mind. So in terms of optimization, so like where do you begin? How do you even sort of begin to take apart all of the components that Google uses to determine your expertise, your authority, your trustworthiness? How can you begin to succeed online in an e-commerce space where you have increasingly price-motivated consumers, like they're not loyal to you at all? Forgive me if everybody's not heard this one before, but they went to your site and you're like, my traffic's up, my revenue's down, because they price compared you to Amazon. They went there, bought that stuff on Amazon. How many has that happened to like this year? A lot? I think pretty many. Fortunately, we have a couple documents that'll give us straight answers from Google. Google publishes this every year since somebody leaked it, and then they figured out of transparency they would just keep releasing it every year, and that's their quality rater guidelines. If anybody's familiar with those, raise their hand. It is 160 pages. You don't have to have read it for here. It's a PDF that comes out annually since 2015. It is the document that they will give the humans that rate for Google. Google employs a small cadre of people that show up to sites and they rate them on quality from like terrible to highest quality, basically spam to the best. And they do this based on a number of different factors. I'm going to go through some of them that really matter for e-commerce. So this is the highest you can get in terms of Google's quality ratings, highest quality. To get there, you need to have a very high level, and we're going to touch on this a little bit more later, but a very high level of expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. How do you measure that? You can't really measure authority. You can't really measure trust. You have it or you don't. You can't measure authoritativeness. You either are authoritative or you are not. Fortunately, there are components that you can use to convey these things, because I think every brand thinks of themselves as, well, of course we're authoritative. But are you communicating it to your customers, to your searchers, to people that just happen up on your website? Is your site able to communicate these things? And I'm talking about like your social media, your reviews, everything. Is it able to communicate these things in a convincing way for the consumer? So EAT, E-A-T, expertise, authority, trustworthiness. Expertise takes a lot of different forms from Google, for Google, and this is, like I said, these are the boring slides. The dog was exciting. It's downhill from here. These are taken directly from the Quality Rater Guidelines. So when you have high expertise, when you have high authority, when you have high trustworthiness, that can take different forms for different sites. What's high authority and high trustworthy for a bank isn't what's high authority for a medical site, isn't what's high authority for running shoes. Follow? This is what Google gives. They give right in their Quality Rater Guidelines. That's why they're so useful. This is the example straight from Google about what is satisfactory main content. That's how you begin to form trustworthiness. Are you communicating to the client, the searcher, that you have specific product descriptions, you have manufacturer's product specifications? They call that out a lot. Are you giving them exactly what the creator of that product gave them, gave you to then give them? The other side of this is a whole lot of reviews. Now, 94.5, I don't know if that's real. Doesn't seem like it's real, right? Like 94 people are like, you know what, 5 stars. 5 stars for that mixer. I don't know. But Google looks at it to say this is a component that helps us as humans think about making an informed decision about that product. Your customer experience, now more than ever, matters. Even just this week, I'd already sent the presentation and I couldn't make changes to it. But through Google Patent Reading, Google is now able to, from an entity level, take reviews from other places online because they don't believe your site's usually truthful with how you convey your reviews. Y'all have been deleting them reviews too much, so they don't trust you anymore. So they can look to other sites and other places that customers leave reviews and then fill in the gaps. If your site says your product is imported but doesn't tell where, Google can figure out where you import your products from. So if it used to be in Italy and now it's in China, but you're still charging the customer the same price, and the customers are savvy to that and they're writing about it and they're reviewing it, Google is going to then understand that at an entity level, and that's an impact to your trust. It's an impact to your authority. So, example, again, direct from Google on what a satisfactory kind of footer of a landing page looks like for conveying who is responsible for your site. You have to be upfront with people about who maintains the site and how you get in touch with a real person. On the left, and I know it seems like a no-brainer, of course we do. There's a number of places that you think you're doing this thing, but you're probably not doing it to the satisfaction of a blind algorithm. On the left here, this is from LL Bean. On the left, 800 number. Another link to call me. Do you want to chat? Cool. Do you want to email me? Also fine. Help center. Do you have a question that I can get solved here without having to leverage any of these other sort of items? This is robust and it's front-facing. So outstanding service direct from main. What does that do? That's trust, right? There are people in this state. I'm not going to offshore you somewhere. I'm not going to put you into a queue where I can't find you. I'm going to put you into the state of Maine, where you can talk to a human, ostensibly from Maine, to get your issue solved. This is a bad customer service experience. This was a former client of mine. Very disappointed and truly sad. all the exclamation points. Google can use this, like we just talked about. They can take pieces from this to understand, okay, their offline sales experience is crap. It doesn't matter what your website can load in 2 seconds. You can have the most robust inventory. You can have a seamless cart experience. You can have all of these things in place, and the humans on the ground at your stores will still let you down if you don't have a holistic experience. Because they take that offline stuff and they put it here. And this is just a branded search for this, this person. You can see it's a little bit mixed here and there. You'll see like a 4.4 here, a 3.7, but there's these 1 stars that are gonna be your loudest. You know, somebody that had a really positive experience, generally they leave a 5-star, if at all. It's the negatives who usually do the most damage because they're the loudest. This is that previous slide. This is their contact form. So like, who wants to fill this out? It looks like a section of a tax document, not like you don't want people to talk to you, like really don't tell us there's a problem. We're not actually interested in it. Anybody who's done any conversion rate optimization at all knows if you have more than like 3 to 5 things on a form, like I'm not doing it. I don't even know how I would have all that information. The difference between LL Bean at the top where it's, hey, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this, is transparency. Is a willingness to not put a barrier in front of between your business and the consumer. You have to. You can't just throw up this form, which who knows where this goes to. I imagine it's a poor intern's inbox who's just like beset with 500 of these a day. You know, we have to have as seamless as possible an experience when we communicate who is responsible for the site, who is responsible for maintaining those customer experience chains, that they actually get to a human and that we actually communicate throughout the process that we're, it sounds like a customer service like speech, but it really does impact your organic. Because if Google is looking at your reviews, if Google is looking to measure expertise, authority, and trust now, the only way that they can do that in a significant way is to take the people into account and what the people are saying about your business. There are no lines. Seems impressive. What that means is offline and online, it doesn't matter. If you have a store, it might as well be online, it might as well be offline. The consumer doesn't see it. All they look at as online is just another screen, right? So if you have to figure out, in terms of organic, to break down that barrier between that customer service experience offline and that customer service experience online. And offline can be just as simple as picking up the phone and having somebody, a live human in Maine, who cares about their service experience. Examples. These are directly from Google's quality rater guidelines. These are the sites that Google will give you. They rate them. Here's like a terrible site. Here's a highest quality site. Here's the high quality site. So 2 things I want you to pay attention to here is the YMYL. We're going to talk about that in a second. For the other part here is they have a very positive reputation, the site I'm going to show you. They have very high levels of EAT, that's expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And they have a satisfying amount of main content, MC. When we get to, so this is YMYL, it stands for your money or your life. Any content that can impact a consumer's health or their life in one way or another this standard applies, and that is Google's highest quality standard for content. If you sell stuff online, you are YMYL for Google. If you just have a cart on your site, you are YMYL. So you can't provide any less than the absolute highest of anything that you put on your site. One more thing about reputation first. For a YMYL website, a mixed reputation is cause for a low rating. So if people aren't talking about you positive online, and that's anything with a shopping cart, that's anything with an e-commerce bent attached to it, if people are saying negative things about you, you're not addressing them, that's a low quality rating from Google by their quality guidelines. So not only does your bad reviews impact how how people buy from you. It impacts how visible you are from an organic sort of metric. So this is, and it looks a bit old. This is LL Bean. This page in particular is Google's example of the highest quality site for shopping, for e-commerce. What do we have? We have 674 just about 5-star reviews. We have a full satisfying amount of main content. The page's content is easy to read. It's bulleted. It doesn't make me do a lot of work. I don't have to go through tabs and tabs and tabs to get all of this content. I can view it pretty easily and pretty quickly. The other thing to pay attention to here is the site owner manufactures the product, so they control their supply chain, right? You're not a drop shipper. LL Bean's not a drop shipper. They're not somebody who outsources this manufacturing process. They control it. So that allows them to maintain, at least from a search engine and then obviously from a consumer's perspective, trust and expertise over this product. Nobody else makes this. High quality. So highest quality, high quality. The difference is LL Bean owns, manufactures, sells their product. Target, big brand. I don't think they make the Hello Kitty backpack. I don't think. That's the difference here. It's a satisfying amount of content. It's just not the highest kind of content. It's just not the highest version of what you could expect. Maintenance is a core component of maintaining a highest quality site, of maintaining a YMYL site. You have to keep up your pages. And I've had this happen with clients as well, your merchandising team kind of gets out of control, and they're putting products up and they're putting products down, and then URLs are disappearing, and all of a sudden you have out-of-stock products. It's hard to change things. URLs just sort of start getting left by the wayside, and next thing you know, like, you have whole sections that are seasonal that you just kind of leave, and you haven't really updated in a while. That sounds familiar to anybody? I've seen this happen a lot. These are the 2 pages now. LL Bean actually fixed this in the interim. The guy who runs SEO for LL Bean is a friend of my boss's, and I think he told him before this presentation. The highest quality page for Google for shopping, this is allowed to happen. It's allowed to go out of stock. It's allowed then, so if I search and I end up on this page, this is an unsatisfactory experience, at least for me. I can't buy it, and 2, it doesn't really invite me to get anywhere else. All of the reviews are gone. The main content, the product details, are damn near below the fold. And once you start to get content that far close to the fold of a screen, you're going to lose about 25 to 30% of your visitors. You start kind of falling off over time. The other side here on Target, you used to have your products all the way up at the top. Now you have, I can get Cat and Jack, I can get JanSport, I can get kids backpacks. If I'm not looking for any of these, I've got to do work to find more. And like I just said, the more you're making your user scroll down to find what they want, the more you're going to lose. They're not going to go with you. So just for example here, left, highest quality rating, the right, what it looked like a week ago. This is what happens when you don't properly maintain your pages. When you don't have kind of a reign over your manufacturing or your merchandising team. Who's actually in charge? Again, speaking to who's responsible for maintaining the website. This is something that we pay attention to a lot in SEO, is because we manage keyword rankings, we look at your traffic, all of a sudden, this thing used to rank for a lot of stuff, and now it doesn't. And next thing you know, you look at the page and it's just a nightmare on the screen. Again, same here too. Target, products. I can click, I make a purchase. 1 click. Over here, I have more clicks to get into. That's more friction. I'm getting deeper into the site, sure, but it also increases the chances that I might not find what I want the deeper I get in. Like I said, LL Bean fixed it, and this looks great. You have to stay on top of merchandising because humans matter most. If that product is out of stock, tell them it's coming back. There was nothing on the page to say hey, it's out, but we're working on it. Give us 2 weeks. Hey, use it as an opportunity for email capture. Give us your email. We'll tell you the second that it's in stock, right? a way in which that the user is satisfied with their search. Because the second that they don't see this, they don't see add to bag, they're clicking the back button. And the more a user is going to click the back button on your site, the more you're communicating to a search engine that you haven't successfully ended the query, that they need to go find something elsewhere. Google's paying attention to that. It's a component called dwell time. The second, I was talking about this earlier, the second anybody clicks into anything from search results, from organic, Google has a stopwatch, and they're going. They're paying attention to how long the click is, that is how deep you get into the site, how many pages you interact with on site, and how long that takes, and if you click the back button or not. And more back buttons, back to SERP, indicates that the search result wasn't successful for the algorithm. Now, they could have gotten what they needed from the information for the site. They're like, oh, that's fine, and back. But for Google, back button is bad. Ding. Know your popular pages. I'm funny. The answer is, it's not your shopping cart. Your shopping cart is not the most popular page. If you know what pages from an organic perspective bring in your traffic, you understand what is popular, and you also understand where your opportunities are. You know very well like what pages like you would love to have do stuff that are not. You have to agree on a trusted data source to be able to gauge those things. You have to, and I know it's probably a significant investment for a GA360 account, but you have to avoid sampling in your data. The worst thing that you can have is to be a victim of your own success, where I've got great traffic, and the next thing you know, you start to see that little yellow guy in the top left of your GA, and that's Google taking some of your data away because you're on the free version. Get to a data source that is going to give you 100% of your traffic, 100% of your revenue, 100% of your transactions. I want everybody to play the infinite game with organic, not the finite game. The infinite versus the finite in game theory is a finite game is like a game of football. It's two teams, everybody agrees on the rules. You have a winner and you have a loser, certain amount of time, keep score, win. Finite game, the goal is to keep playing. And too often, businesses make decisions based on the finite game, and that's not how organic works. The goal in organic is to stay present, is to stay top of mind, is to stay above the fold in search results. It's to stay easily found, easily discoverable. I can't win SEO. If you're hiring an agency or you're bringing somebody in to like win SEO for you, it's not going to happen. You don't win. There are no trophies. It's, are we visible? Are we delivering a compelling site experience? Are we found quickly? Ding. And my last, thing I want to run through here is mobile. So what happened August? July? Well, July was mobile first. So we went to a mobile first index. If everybody in their search console started seeing notifications that Google was like, you're on the mobile first index. All of the ranking factors, all of the things that Google used to judge your site by are now done from the mobile version of your website, not the desktop version. Yes, so if your mobile version is crap, it's time to think about it. Chances are the majority of your traffic comes from mobile. That's why Google made this shift over time, because they might as well start judging a site and judging the success of that site by how your customers interact with it, which is chiefly on mobile. The other side of this is mobile page speed as of August is now a ranking factor for organic search. Page speed, despite like its importance for CRO, for all these things, wasn't typically a ranking factor like an explicit signal. As of today it is. The third update. The last thing that happened in August is the MEDDIC update. That's why these quality rater guidelines are so important. And if you guys have my presentation, there's the PDF link to it that has all 160 pages. You can read it night before bed if you want. The MEDDIC update, what it did was incorporate, we believe, from what we've seen from other industries, is take those expertise, those authority, and those trust signals, which previously were kind of not part of the algorithm, and bake it into the algorithm. So then Google can decide at an algorithmic level what is trustworthy, what is authoritative. Personally, I think ahead of the midterm, because Google kind of has a fake news problem. So they need to be able to decide what is trustworthy, what I need to serve that's reliable and what isn't. And e-com is sort of the ancillary damage, collateral damage because of it. To mobile. On average, it takes 15.3 seconds for a fully loaded single page on mobile device. 15 seconds. Who waits around 15 seconds for anything on their phone? No? Okay. 1 second delay equals a loss of up to 20% in your conversions. 1 second delay. How much do you think that 15-second business is losing? They're not in business. Average speeds by, again, this is from mock metrics. These are average speeds by industry in 2018. If the average is 15 seconds, I think the United Kingdom is slowing us down. I think the UK is coming in last. Retail, for you guys, 9.8 seconds. 9. You have about 3 seconds to capture attention. Anything over that, take that 5, 6 seconds, times it by 20. That's what you're losing. That's the opportunity to gain. That's what's on the table for you. If you ever have a problem saying, well, I don't see the ROI in getting faster. Money. It's money on the table. Your Chrome browser is a whole lot more powerful than you think it is. Most of this stuff is a right click away for you to check this stuff out. Google cares about the DOM. That's document object modeling. That is the part of loading your web page that makes it visually complete for the searcher. It's the stuff the human sees, and that's what Google cares about. You are able, and this is right from Chrome console, you can see, hey, what's slowing me down? Your unused CSS, your render blocking resources, your off-screen images. If you're an e-commerce site and your images are a megabyte each, reduce that. You need 100 kilobytes max. Kilobytes? Kilobytes? One of them. 100. Keep it low. Because we're talking about a mobile device. We're not talking about the beautiful desktop version of your website. That's not how Google is judging your site. It's not also how Google is crawling your site. Google doesn't crawl your website at 4G LTE speeds. They crawl it at 3G. And they're going to crawl it at 3G until about 2020. So if the web developers are coming to you and they're saying, guys, it's great. It loads in a second and a half. You need to know what they're testing that on. Because if they've tested that on 4G, on like the strong business-grade Wi-Fi, that's not how Google sees it. You don't want, your site doesn't want to be the reason that Google, that your searchers get throttled. Everybody's on a data plan. So you're actually spending searchers' money, and think about it that way. You're spending your guys' money by having a huge site every month. Think about your repeat customers. Think about people coming to your site for the first time. Think about all the things that they use their phones for. They're streaming video. They have their own images. They have other social media, other things that are eating up their data. If your site is 10 megabytes big on a single page, and you've got 200 resources to fire through to get it to load any single document, you're going to be an eternity here waiting for all this stuff to load. And if the searcher's already getting throttled on a 3G connection, remember, which is what Google crawls the web, the mobile web, it's not going to happen for them. Ding. Like I said, you've got 2 to 3 seconds. And mobile page speed is now a ranking factor. This site wasn't so great. The DOM content loads in 12 seconds. That is what's visually complete for the searcher on a fast 3G connection. You can do this right from your Chrome browser. I'm sure you guys know it. If anybody doesn't know it, you just right-click. You go to Inspect. You can hit the Network tab on your Chrome console, and you can play around with the throttling and see how fast you load, how fast you don't load on 4G, on 3G, and gauge that performance. Page speed is never going to be more than a measure of a moment in time. So take a few measurements. Take your busy times. Take your slow times. See how your site performance varies over a given week. Because if this loads, and I think I did this at like 9 o'clock at night, I wanted to make sure it wasn't like on a heavy load. If it loads at 12.83 seconds when nobody's on your site, what's going to happen on Black Friday? What's going to happen when you have a sale that you absolutely need to kill it on and people can't load their site? Thanks. Yay.
All right. Well, we have some time for questions. So there's me with the mic, and there's Chris in back also with a mic. So if you have any questions, we'll come over with the microphone. So start here.
How do we choose what search words are most relevant to us, and then how do we decide which ones are affordable, profitable for us to use?
Sure, good question. tough, right? Because Google won't give it to you. They've hid that data. That's rolled up into not provided. Has been since 2011, 2012. What I like to do is, if like I'm onboarding someone, I want to begin with, what do you rank for right now? Where do you draw strength from right now? What is the most search volume around your keyword portfolio today? I hope it's your brand to start with. It is a component of Google's algorithms called co-occurrence, where when you get rising search volume with a brand term and a non-brand term, and searchers are like using this thing like Barney's shoes or what have you, over time, you start to get raised for the non-brand term. So I want as much eyes on your brand term as humanly possible because you can own that, nobody else can. I can build knowledge graph for you around that. I can turn your above the fold search experience into a storefront where they better be bidding on the term to try and get in there from SEM because you're not going to get in there from organic. That's step one. Step two is to look at your competition in the space, and not in terms of like what you think your competition is, but what is your keyword competition to start one. Like a tool like SEMrush I think is great for this, where you can kind of see, I can broaden out like 4 or 5 keyword competitors based on your current portfolio. See where they are, see what keywords you have in common, and then what keywords you don't have in common. What are they living on that you're not, right? And go from there. SEMrush.
Hey, thanks for being here. A question about when we talk about optimizing for a keyword or optimizing a page. There's one thing optimizing, let's say, for a home page or a content page, but then versus optimizing for a product page.
Sure.
And a lot of the experts that I read are saying, well, make it for the customer. We're trying to sell a product, and we know how to sell our products, and we're really good at that.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily making it optimized for what Google wants to see or what what the bot wants to see. And I don't want to start stuffing keywords on a product page or repetitive. It's also a lot of experts will say, pick the one keyword that's the most important for the product and optimize for that. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me because we want to do product benefits. We want to do
Sure.
what does the customer want to see about the product?
That's good. Doesn't mean anything to me either. That's
Yeah.
good.
So when they say, well, we need to optimize, if I'm not ranking, if I'm going SEMrush and it's not ranking the way that I'm expecting,
Sure.
how do we play with what the machine wants to see versus what the humans want to see? But Google keeps saying make it for the humans, but that doesn't seem to be accomplishing what I want.
Right. So the hidden component of that is query intent. Google puts queries into like 4 different columns, really. There's transactional, there's informational, there's navigational, like do I want to get somewhere? Do I have a question about that? And then it's more into quick answer, more like rich result, kind of that voice search sort of component, things that are like, hey Google, What you need to do first is to decide, am I banging on a transactional query? Like, am I banging on a transactional query with an informational page? Am I banging on an informational query with a transactional page? Am I expecting to try and make money off of a search term that Google only thinks that customers want to get information? So easy ways to tell that to start is take your keyword portfolio, the things that you really think you want to rank well on. Look at the search result. Are there paid search ads on there? Are there other e-commerce companies on there? Other people trying to sell stuff there and like above the fold? Is it there? Okay. If it matches, great. Now look at your page. Is what everybody on that search, are you doing the same thing that they're doing? Are you doing it better? Are you addressing that need in a way that is more comprehensive, in a way that is going to satisfy the searcher? How's that so far?
Okay. So let's say we have like lingo related to our brand about how the product is used.
Mm-hmm.
But that lingo may not be the way that brands use the same description of the product. So we may have to change some of our messaging to be more in line with the one product
Sure.
in this category.
Perhaps. How are people actually searching for it? So when you look at these terms, is there search volume behind the way that you know your product? Right? Are the people who buy your product using the same terminology that you are using to describe your product? I don't know. I think it's step one. I think you need to find that out. Well, I don't think that's necessarily a tool set. I think talk to your customers. I think step one.
Well, I can't just send an email to my customer and say, hey, what did you search for?
Well, no, absolutely not.
I know what they're searching for when they come to my site because I got metrics on it. Okay, but that's only a fraction. They're also just navigating because you have 6 categories.
Sure. Well, I mean, leveraging your internal search data is also pretty powerful as well, like you just mentioned. That's a pretty powerful indicator of like what they want and how they're describing it. You know, I've had tons of experiences where they've leveraged customer service. Like, can you fill out a survey? Can you talk to us about how you talk about our product? You know, how do you describe that stuff? Connect, you know, your customer service team with those people and like get that information.
Okay, and so now we have to figure out what they're searching for relative to what my product is and they're one of the same.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce.
In a way, the other side of that is if there is, you have to sort of bridge that gap between what's shown online versus what's shown offline. You know, if the way that your customers talk about your product on your social platforms is consistent with how you describe your brand, then you might have it might be a different issue. But if it's different, if they have a different language to talk about your product, that's what you need to kind of link up, because then that is how Google is going to interpret it. Google's not going to take the lingo from your site because that's just one data source. They're going to take social, they're going to take your reviews, they're going to third-party reviews, they're going to take all of that other kind of entity disambiguating information to build how they understand your brand as a business. So it won't just be from your website.
So I think we have time for about 2 more questions. Right behind you. Yep, right there.
Hi. I have a website. I sell wooden and natural toys. We have a lot of seasonal toys and Christmas-specific items. We also import a lot of toys from Germany, from small workshops and manufacturers that we can't restock quickly.
Tell me
So
more.
we constantly have this problem you illustrated of things being seasonally or temporarily out of stock, and we go back and forth
Sure.
about what to do with them. Right now, we're just kind of hiding them from search, keeping the page active on Google, hiding it from customers, so when it comes back in stock, we can add it. We used to do 301 redirects, but then we'd have to remember when it was back to remove the redirect, or nobody was,
Yeah.
why do we still have 24 on the shelf? So I just wonder what you would recommend for those items that are out of stock for more than a month.
Right? One, pick a strategy. Either it's like the redirects or I think you go one of 2 ways, right? Either is it going to come in back stock ever, or is it just gone and never coming back?
If it's gone, we do a 301 redirect
Okay.
and we delete it. But it's like it's gone for 6. Some of our manufacturers take 6 months to handmake our items and we send them.
Wow.
We just keep growing and
Right.
keep selling out.
It's incredible. I'm like so curious. I'm like, give me the name. I might want to, get some of this stuff. I think I like the idea of like, hey, this is out of stock. The second that we have it back in, give us your email. We will.
We have an app with a pop-up to be.
Well, not a pop-up, because like pop-up's usually JavaScript dependent, and if people tend to browse around with JavaScript disabled, or their virus software will shut it down, and it'll never show up. Right. So anybody's antivirus software, hot tip, antivirus can shut down your analytics, can shut down all of your pop-ups. They'll never see it. So if you have it embedded right in the page as like a widget right there to just say like, hey, we'll let you know the second that this is back in stock. Just send us an email.
Send us an email.
Yeah, just enter your email like right here, click submit, and we'll send it to you. And that also helps you kind of gauge demand for the product. If like nobody gives you an email address, well, you probably don't need to restock it anyway.
Yeah. The other thing we've done is we've changed our little sold out or out of stock button to say more on the way. And that seems to help a lot.
Also gauge the engagement metrics on that page over time. In GA you can see the bounce rate on that site, on that page. You can see kind of the overall session duration on that page. If you see it kind of over time, that's an indication you may need to address that page a bit more. Because Google is paying attention to those negative kind of engagement signals. You want to be able to keep those bolstered even while the product is out of stock.